Katy Perry never imagined that a seemingly harmless joke about Justin Bieber could ignite a storm that would devastate her illustrious career. On April 15, 2026, she unexpectedly found herself at the center of a police investigation. Victoria Police in Australia confirmed they were reviewing an allegation of sexual assault at a Melbourne nightclub from 16 years prior. 15 years of meticulously crafting a perfect image, but it all dissolved with a single post on Threads. As the media storm raged fiercely, her inexplicable silence only worsened the situation, pushing her into a corner no one ever anticipated. To fully grasp the origin of this shocking downfall, we must turn back time, returning to the very beginning of Katy Perry's story. A brief history of a pop queen. Born Katherine Hudson into a devout Christian family in California, her rise to fame was a story of reinvention. After a failed start as a gospel singer, she transformed into Katy Perry, a bold and colorful pop star who quickly came to dominate the music charts. By 2010, she was not just successful, she was at the very top. Her album Teenage Dream made history, becoming only the second album after Bad by Michael Jackson to produce 5 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Songs like Firework, California Girls, and Teenage Dream helped define an entire generation. For 15 years, her image remained consistent, fun, positive, and just rebellious enough to stand out. As she performed at the Super Bowl, sold over 140 million records, and became one of the best-selling artists of all time. She once felt untouchable, but now everything is being questioned, because what was happening now had been set in motion long ago, in ways even Katy Perry herself may not have realized. Many years later, it all came back in an unexpected moment, a fateful spark igniting a downfall which blazed on a sunny Sunday. The spark, Sunday, April 12, 2026. It was at the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival on April 12, 2026, where the desert air was thick with heat and electric energy, seemingly harmless, that the story began. Katy Perry, now 41, arrived in her signature style, loud and playful, ensuring she was the center of attention. She was accompanied by her new boyfriend, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the pair drew photographers' lenses while wearing matching white t-shirts. Amid the festivities, Katy posted a photo to her Instagram account with a teasing caption about Justin Bieber, a harmless joke typical of celebrity social media. The entertainment magazine complex quickly screen-captured the post and published an article about it. Thousands of miles away in Sydney, Australia, Ruby Rose saw the article. For her, Katy Perry's joke was not funny, as it triggered a painful memory she had long suppressed. Instead of commenting on Instagram, she opened the Threads app and typed out a short but explosive message. It was a quiet explosion, but its impact would reverberate across the globe. Ruby Rose's post was not vague, it was chillingly specific. She wrote about a night in 2010 at the Spice Market nightclub in Melbourne, where she accused Katy Perry of inappropriate and violating behavior. The details she provided were vivid and emotionally charged, describing how she had felt so uncomfortable with Perry's advances that she lay down on her friend's lap to create distance. According to Rose's account, this did not deter Perry, who then allegedly pulled down Rose's pants in front of their friends. The shock and humiliation were so immediate and overwhelming that Ruby Rose wrote she ran to the bathroom and vomited on the spot. The moment Ruby Rose hit the post button, the English-speaking entertainment world erupted. What had started as a minor online debate about a Coachella joke had become a ticking time bomb on another continent. Within a few short hours, the hashtag Ruby Rose versus Katy Perry was trending #1 worldwide. Fans of both stars engaged in a fierce online war, with some defending their idol, while others demanded an immediate response from Katy Perry. A simple joke had morphed into a potential criminal allegation, and the situation was just beginning to escalate. Ruby Rose makes it official. The storm on social media was one thing, but Ruby Rose's next action took the matter to an entirely different level. On Monday morning, April 13th, she was photographed walking into a police station in downtown Melbourne, saying nothing to the assembled paparazzi. 2 days later, on Wednesday, April 15, 2026, the Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse Investigation Team, SOCIT, of the Victoria Police issued a formal statement. The statement was brief and professional, confirming that Victoria Police have received a report relating to a sexual assault that is alleged to have occurred in Melbourne in 2010. As the investigation is ongoing, it would be inappropriate to comment further at this time. While Katy Perry's name was not mentioned, the world knew exactly who the statement was about. Ruby Rose's online accusation had now become an official police investigation. While Katy Perry was enjoying the final days of Coachella's glow, Ruby Rose, at the age of 40, was finally confronting a trauma she claimed to have carried for 16 years. She emerged from the police station looking exhausted but resolute. She posted one final message on Threads, stating, "The truth is the truth. I am leaving the rest to the legal process," before going completely silent. Her silence was more powerful than any accusation, leaving the public to speculate about what evidence she might have provided to the authorities. With the police now involved, all attention turned to the past, to that fateful night in a Melbourne nightclub. The fateful night at Spice Market in 2010. Spice Market was no ordinary nightclub. Located in a basement on Beanie Lane, it was designed to look like a Moroccan bazaar, complete with intimate courtyards, ornate lanterns, and exclusive VIP areas. The most coveted spot was the Genie Bottle, a circular VIP room where the world's biggest stars could party in private. On that particular night, the 600-person capacity venue was packed. The evening had started unusually, with Katy Perry and her entourage making an impromptu appearance at a local high school's formal dance before heading to Spice Market. Her group, which included Ruby Rose, hair and makeup artists, and a male friend of Rose, was ushered directly into the Genie Bottle VIP room. Inside, the atmosphere was chaotic and exhilarating. Neon lights flashed across the room as loud music pulsed through the floor. Katy was at the absolute height of her teenage dream fame, while Ruby Rose was a well-known VJ for MTV Australia. Alcohol flowed freely as laughter and loud conversations mixed with the music, and no one could have predicted that a single brief action would come to define the futures of two of its occupants 16 years later. According to sources present that night, Katy Perry's manager grew concerned as she became more and more boisterous, fearing that unflattering photos might leak to the press. The decision was made to end the night early. Katy and Ruby were escorted out a back exit and placed into separate cars to avoid photographers, and the doors closed on the story of that night. However, for Ruby Rose, the memory of that night was not so easily sealed away. The shock and humiliation were deeply ingrained, but against the backdrop of Katy Perry's overwhelming power and fame, she chose to suppress the experience. Nevertheless, a year later, Ruby Rose herself would inadvertently bring it back into the public light, though in a drastically different context. The major contradiction, Ruby Rose's 2011 column. When the shocking allegations came to light in 2026, a piece of old evidence from the past unexpectedly resurfaced and became the focal point of intense controversy. In 2011, just 1 year after the Spice Market incident, Ruby Rose wrote a column for an Australian magazine in which she recounted her encounter with Katy Perry as a humorous anecdote. She described Perry as charmingly eccentric and admitted to being very drunk herself. The climax of her story was that she had embarrassingly vomited on Katy Perry's shoes. The entire piece was written in a self-deprecating tone, turning a chaotic night into a funny story about meeting a superstar. 15 years later, that article was unearthed and went viral. Katy Perry's fans used it as undeniable proof that Ruby Rose was lying and had changed her story for attention. If it was an assault, they argued, why would she have written about it like it was a joke? In a brief interview before she began her official silence, Ruby Rose offered an explanation. She stated that in 2011, there was an immense power imbalance. Katy Perry was the biggest star on the planet, while she was an Australian VJ hoping to build a career in America. Speaking out against Perry at that time would have been professional suicide. Furthermore, she implied that Perry's team had suggested they could help her with her U.S. work visa. So, she chose to survive by laughing it off. 16 years ago, Ruby Rose had chosen to laugh to survive. In 2026, she was choosing to speak the truth to heal. The old article became the centerpiece of the online war, with one side seeing it as proof of a lie, and the other seeing it as painful evidence of how a victim might conceal their trauma with a smile. The response from Katy Perry's team. Amidst the raging media storm, with Ruby Rose's explanation of the 2011 article only adding to the complexity and polarizing public opinion, the pressure on Katy Perry reached its peak. After 48 hours of deafening silence, Katy Perry's team finally made a move. They did not issue a soft apology or a gentle explanation. Instead, they released a sharp legal statement designed to directly attack Ruby Rose's credibility. The statement from her representatives called the allegations categorically false and reckless lies, vowing to pursue all available legal options. Crucially, the statement also made a pointed reference to Ruby Rose's well-documented history, a veiled attempt to paint her as an unreliable narrator. It was a standard crisis management strategy: deny everything and discredit the accuser. While her lawyers were crafting this aggressive statement, Katy Perry took a different approach on her personal social media. She posted a series of cryptic Instagram stories, beginning with a clip from her own song, "By the Grace of God," a track about overcoming personal struggles. The next story simply read, "I love you," on a black background, followed by a final quote, "The truth will set you free." This act split her fan base in two, with some believing she was sending a quiet message of her innocence and faith, while others saw it as an evasive and manipulative tactic to avoid addressing the accusation directly. This dual response of harsh legal threats and vague personal messages only created more questions at a time when her career could not afford another crisis. A terrible year for Katy Perry. The scandal with Ruby Rose did not happen in a vacuum. It arrived at the end of a string of professional setbacks and controversies that had already shaken the foundations of Katy Perry's empire. The period of 2025 to 2026 had been one of the most difficult of her career. Her seventh studio album, 143, had been a commercial and critical failure. She faced significant backlash for her continued collaboration with producer Dr. Luke, who had been accused of abuse by the singer Kesha. Her brief flight to space aboard a Blue Origin rocket was widely mocked as an out-of-touch stunt. On a personal level, she had quietly ended her engagement to Orlando Bloom in late 2025, and her new relationship with Justin Trudeau was viewed with skepticism by some as a public relations move. When an empire is already trembling, an old accusation can be the final blow that brings it all down. Her upcoming Lifetimes tour was meant to be the lifeline that would save her career, a chance to reconnect with her fan base and reassert her dominance. Now, this scandal threatened to drag the entire tour into a vortex of negative press. Sponsors were reportedly becoming hesitant, and ticket sales had slowed. The Ruby Rose allegation was not just a threat to her reputation. It was a direct threat to her financial future, and it forced the public to re-examine similar stories from her past that had long been ignored. A pattern of accusations emerges. As journalists and online sleuths began to dig, they uncovered that Ruby Rose's accusation was not an isolated event, but part of a disturbing pattern of behavior that spanned years. In 2019, model Josh Kloss, who co-starred in her Teenage Dream music video, alleged that Perry had pulled down his pants and underwear at a party, exposing his genitals to everyone around them. The Russian journalist Tina Kandelaki also accused Perry of making unwanted and inappropriate advances toward her at a private event. Then there was the infamous on-air incident in 2018, where American Idol contestant Benjamin Glaze was kissed on the lips by Perry without his consent. A moment, he later said, made him uncomfortable, as it was his first kiss. Each of these prior incidents had been dismissed at the time, laughed off by a studio audience, or downplayed as part of Katy's quirky personality. When viewed together, however, they painted a troubling picture. The elements were consistently the same: a public or semi-public setting, a clear power dynamic in Perry's favor, and the violation of physical boundaries without consent. Ruby Rose had not just told her own story, she had inadvertently brought all the others back into the light. With a formal police investigation now underway, these past events were no longer just awkward anecdotes, but potential evidence of a recurring pattern of behavior. The future in the balance. As it stands, the future of this case and of Katy Perry's career rests in the hands of 4 key parties, each holding a card that could change the game. The first is Ruby Rose, who may possess physical evidence or, more importantly, have witnesses willing to corroborate her story. The second is Katy Perry, whose silence is a high-risk gamble. She could choose to sue Rose for defamation, a move that would trigger a long and revealing legal battle. The third is the SOCIT investigators and the Victorian Office of Public Prosecutions, who will decide if there is enough evidence to press criminal charges. Finally, there are the other witnesses from that night, the artists, friends, and staff who were in the room and whose testimony could prove decisive. Every day that passes without a definitive statement from Katy Perry only fuels more public speculation. The world is watching and waiting. The stage lights have been turned off and the music has stopped, leaving only an unnerving silence and a host of unanswered questions. Will justice be served after 16 years? Or will the memory of one night in Melbourne be forever lost, buried by fame, power, and the passage of time? The answer remains to be seen.